are your thoughts and beliefs about creation?
My thoughts are, so I was raised in a religious household. Um, my mom is a very strong Catholic, so I do believe that we were made in like 7 days and whatnot.
Yeah, so I grew up in a Christian home. Grew up also loving science at the same time. And I think there came a point where, you kind of have to decide for yourself what exactly you believe. And I am kind of along the lines, it talks in the Bible about in the beginning how God created the heavens and the earth and how he spoke. But in there's a lot of room for discussion about how exactly that happened. And I think many times in the Christian community, it's like you either have to believe just, it's like that God created and evolution are completely separate. But I find that I think there's very much truth in both, and that it's not something where you have to staunchly be one thing or the other. That I kind of have maybe a little different take that, yeah, I do believe God created everything, but as we can see, things do evolve. Life is constantly finding a way to survive, and that's basically what evolution is.
So I was raised in a religious household, but I'm not religious at all. I'm staunchly on the side of science on this. Definitely believe it was Big Bang, hot gases coalescing, exploding, expanding, like in the universe. That's where I'm at.
But also, since I've gone into science, I do believe the science part of it as well. A lot of people tell me I can't believe in both, but I do. So that's my belief on creation.
I am a born-again Christian, and I 100% believe in creation, and it's actually what really fascinated me about medicine is just a lot of people think that because there's so much complexity and so much detail in life that, there has to be a creator, there has to be something that like put all this together. And when I was younger, I didn't really understand what that meant until I started learning a lot about biology. I was a chemistry major when I was younger, and just being able to look at things up close and under the microscope, looking at things in books, I started to put things together in my belief. I said, no, there's no way that this happened by chance. There's no way that this just magically came together from matter. So I just started really believing that there is something greater than us out there, and 100% believe in God and the creation.
I 100% believe that God created the universe and everything in it. I think as I dive further and further into medicine and learning about the human body, that's only 100% confirms my belief.
Creation to me has always been a subject that I never had an opinion one way or another on.
So I am a believer myself, and I believe that science is the language that God chose to write the universe in.
Came in with the opinion that creation just was non-existent and that everything was evolution. When I got here and I started dissecting, my opinion changed just a little bit, which is very crazy because usually it's the opposite way, where people have one view and then if anything they'll go towards evolution. A lot of people don't sway the other way, I feel like. However, for example, we started dissecting the face last week, and as we dissected the face, we started taking off the skin and the fascia and the muscles. You start seeing all the nerves and the nerves that come in. And there's a nerve that comes in right behind here, kind of goes up over your face. It's called the facial nerve. And then you have an artery, and you have veins, and you have lymph nodes, and then everything else, just all the different little structures and bones. And I started thinking, this is very intricate. This took work. Somebody must have put some sort of plan into action here. And then I thought back to the evolution, and I thought how that view is that we had one cell, and the Big Bang happened, and created maybe more cells, and they all kind of congealed and then started working together to create us. And that makes sense when I hear something loud over here and I turn my head really quick because I need to make sure that the lion's not going to eat me. So that's also fun to think about. So now I've decided that I am undecided because I'm not quite sure anymore. But I feel that, if anything, maybe creation started it all and evolution took over.
I think for me it's a combination of both. I do, believe that God created the heaven and the earth and how exactly, I think we're still learning about that.
So, he created everything around us that includes the scientific principles and things that we see. He created gravity. He created the laws of physics to govern the way that things interact with one another. He created chemistry and the way that things transform. And when he created life, he created biology and the way that life is created and interacts with life around it and how it grows and changes. So I definitely believe that God created the whole universe, and I think that he utilized scientific principles to do that. So I identify as what some people call an old world creationist, in that I believe that God created evolution and the concepts of evolution, and he created DNA and the way that genetic material is passed down through creatures, and he utilized that to create everything that we see around us.
I just think that medicine and following in the footsteps of people who have done great research and really take the time to learn about every little detail of the human body, like you're in a way celebrating it by studying medicine and being a doctor, but at the same time, even if you're just a scientist or you decide to do something more in the lab, you're still learning about that creation aspect. So I think that creation's all around us. It's who we are. It's what we learn about. And when you're studying science, you're basically celebrating that detail in that, and how creation is just all around us.
Why'd you go into medicine?
Well, I love science, and I love people. I love working with people. So I kind of get to marry two of my favorite things. And obviously helping people is a huge benefit to that. So I like to take care of people. So.
I really like the subject matter. It's very fascinating what our body can do. There's very little intricacies, like down to the cell, that makes us work as a whole organism. It's very advanced. So.
Yeah, so at first, right out of high school, like I said, I loved science, loved anatomy. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, and my pastor at the time actually had taken me to a college visit, a school down in Oklahoma called Rhema Bible College, and it just really resonated with me, and they did a lot with missions and kind of training people to be missionaries or pastors or evangelists, things like that. And so my original goal was to become a missionary and set up orphanages. So while I was there, I did a degree in business administration, and then I also did a study theology. Well, when I took my first trip overseas to Thailand, I lived there for about 3 to 4 months, and I worked with kids in sex trafficking, and we did a lot of outreaches to communities, Burmese refugees in particular. And every time I was there, I always saw someone who was in need of health care. We would bring water and food, but there was nothing that I could do to help them in that manner. And I remember one time in particularly, there was a monsoon, and we went to offer some aid and give out blankets and water. And while I was there, there was a construction worker who was working on a building in the area, and he fell maybe 3 stories right onto his head. And a group of people brought him over. He had a blanket covering his head, so I couldn't see, but you could see that his body was limp. They put him in the back of his truck, and here his wife came and jumped in the truck, and this was probably just from me to you, like the way as I'm sitting there watching this. And as they took the blanket off the head, she just started screaming, and I just stood there feeling so helpless that I literally could do nothing. I could not offer any sort of service for him. And that really bothered me. So coming away from that trip, it made me want to help people in that capacity specifically. So I changed the direction of kind of setting up orphanages, and I decided to go back to school for medicine.
I've always wanted to be in medicine. I knew when I was very young. I grew up in a medical family with a father who was a doctor and a mother who was a respiratory therapist, and then later on a stepmom who was an OR nurse. And so I got to be around it. So I wanted to make sure that this is the path I wanted to take. So at age 19, I got a job at Craig Hospital, which is a rehabilitation hospital for spinal cord and traumatic brain injuries. And I started working very closely with patients. And the feeling that I would get was very happy, fulfilled, excited to go to work. And it was not, I also had a job at a juice kitchen where I would make juices and smoothies, and it was very different from that. Plus, I would go home at the end of the day and I would feel, like I said, fulfilled. So, I think that in the end of it all, I realized that is what I wanted to do, and then I went and became a paramedic. And as soon as I was in the hectic, chaotic world of being out in EMS, which is emergency medical service, then I said, okay, I'm going to finish my school and I'm going to go to medical school, and I did.
I think as a physician, you have a really unique window into people's lives, and particularly a window where people are kind of most vulnerable and going through some really horrible things or happy things and everywhere in between. So you have a really unique window into a person's vulnerable period and save life. And what better a time to bring hope and life and love and Jesus into people's life when they're going through that hard, good, and everywhere in between period in their life.
What really started my desire to go into medicine was just from family members. I have a lot of family members who've been sick in my life: cancer, diabetes, heart attacks, and I'm an only child. I don't have siblings. Family is really important to me, and when I lose a family member, it's devastating, you know. And a lot of my life, I wanted to understand, like, why did this happen? Why are they gone? What can I do to fix it? And it wasn't until I was personally diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that I decided to do something. I really wanted to figure out, you know, why certain things happen in the human body in it. And I love science, I love art, so I thought those two things together are kind of what medicine's all about: seeing the beauty in people and also still being scientific and being able to be logical about things and objective.
So I was initially inspired to go into medicine because of some mission work that I did with my church in high school. We worked with a missionary in Uganda who worked in an orphanage there. So we spent some time with her, and I actually got the opportunity to shadow a physician out there who I just got to see, you know, the conditions that he was working in, you know, dealing with malaria patients day in, day out with dirt floors and people just sitting on the ground and just kind of horrible conditions. But I was really inspired by him because he went into every single day just with a big smile on his face, and just so excited to get to help people and to bring God's word into his work as well.
What do you want to use your gift in medicine to do?
My primary purpose in medicine, and the reason I want to be here, and the I don't even know if it's a gift yet, but I hope it becomes more of a gift, is that I can I want to be in pediatrics, and I've seen a lot of families and kids going through just really vulnerable and hard times in their life, and I think that it's like I said, a unique window to bring hope and life and just develop relationships with families and kids that are long lasting, and that I can instill just a little grain of it's all going to be okay, and there's hope, and there's a bigger purpose for this, and that's what I really do.
So I actually feel like we need a lot of work on the mental health care system here in the U.S. specifically. I would love to have an effect on that, maybe improve it somehow. That would be like a higher goal for me. But the population I really want to work with is the military population. So I am going to be active duty as a physician when I graduate. So.
I want to be a good doctor who listens to their patients, because I know a lot of times patients don't feel heard or don't feel cared for because the provider looks too busy for them. They are very busy, but I just don't want them to feel that way.
I'm definitely drawn to more global medicine, but I, at the same time, want to help hear people locally. And I think it's mainly people who are underserved or in impoverished areas who maybe don't have the greatest access to healthcare, helping in that area. And also, I really like working with children and women because they're the most, globally, they're the most vulnerable population we see. And so anything I can do to improve someone's life, really, it'll make it all worth it, I guess.
That's awesome. That's awesome. 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 That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome.